The afternoon sun cast a golden glow across the quiet streets of a peaceful suburban neighborhood where everything seemed perfectly orderly. At the entrance stood a spotless sign welcoming residents to Harmony Heights, its polished appearance serving as a constant reminder that this community took its rules seriously. Into this calm setting rolled a sleek black sedan marked with official insignia. The vehicle turned smoothly into a driveway and came to a gentle stop. A moment later, the driver's door swung open and the sheriff stepped out. In his late 40s, he carried a briefcase and wore the relaxed expression of someone finally finished with a long day of work. He stretched comfortably beside the car, taking a moment to enjoy the familiar tranquility of his neighborhood. The soft beep of a remote lock echoed to the otherwise silent afternoon as he secured the vehicle. Feeling at ease, he headed toward his front door, eager to leave the pressures of the day behind. Once inside, he set his briefcase on a table and loosened his tie, gradually shedding the formalities of his job. The comfort of home settled around him as he moved through the house. He casually glanced out the front window, paying little attention to the quiet street outside. Everything appeared normal. His car sat neatly in the driveway, just another vehicle in a neighborhood known for its predictability. But from a nearby house, someone was watching. Behind partially closed blinds, HOA Karen peered outside with narrowed eyes. Suspicion flickered across her face as her gaze locked onto the sheriff's vehicle. To her, it didn't belong. In her carefully controlled vision of the community, something about it seemed wrong. She stepped away from the window, determination replacing curiosity. Without hesitation, she marched toward her desk and began digging through stacks of paperwork. She wasn't searching for information. She was searching for justification. After a moment, she found exactly what she wanted, a copy of the neighborhood parking regulations. To Karen, these rules were more than guidelines. They were a source of authority. Her finger slowly traced a section discussing approved vehicles. As she read, her confidence grew. The document appeared to confirm what she already believed. A smug smile spread across her face as she glanced back toward the sheriff's driveway, convinced she had uncovered a violation. Opening a nearby drawer, she retrieved a small decorative key. It gleamed in the light, and attached to it was a label proudly identifying it as an HOA master key. Karen regarded it like a badge of power. With renewed purpose, she stepped outside and headed directly toward the sheriff's car. Approaching the vehicle, she examined it closely, her eyes scanning every detail in search of evidence. She walked around it slowly, inspecting the windows, tires, and exterior with intense scrutiny. To her, every feature seemed suspicious. The expression on her face revealed a blend of judgment and self-satisfaction. She was already imagining herself enforcing the rules. Confidently, she reached for the driver's side handle and pulled. Nothing happened. The door remained firmly locked. A slight frown crossed her face. She tugged again, this time with more force, irritation beginning to replace confidence. The locked door felt like a challenge to her authority. Refusing to give up, Karen produced her master key. Certain it would solve the problem, she carefully inserted it into the lock. For a moment, she paused, convinced victory was only seconds away. Then she twisted. The key resisted. She tried again, applying more pressure. Her expression tightened as the lock refused to cooperate. The certainty she had felt moments earlier began slipping away. Another attempt followed. Then another. Each failed effort increased her frustration. She grunted softly as she forced the key harder, but the lock remained unmoved. Inside the house, the sheriff had changed into a comfortable t-shirt and settled down with a fresh cup of coffee. As he casually looked out the window, something unusual caught his attention. His eyes widened slightly. There, standing beside his car, was HOA Karen. Confusion briefly crossed his face before it gave way to amusement. Setting down his coffee, he stepped closer to the window for a better look. Karen was still struggling with the lock. A grin slowly formed on the sheriff's face as he watched her increasingly determined efforts. The entire situation was so absurd that he could hardly believe what he was seeing. Shaking his head, he reached for his phone and discreetly began recording. The screen captured Karen wrestling with the key, completely unaware that her actions were being documented. Leaning casually against the wall, the sheriff continued watching the spectacle unfold. For the moment, he was content to remain a silent observer as HOA Karen persisted in her hopeless mission beside his car. Outside, Karen finally threw her hands into the air in frustration. Her prize master key had accomplished absolutely nothing. The lock had refused to cooperate, and her confidence was rapidly turning into anger. Refusing to accept defeat, she pulled out her phone and began dialing furiously, determined to escalate the matter. A close look at her face revealed pure indignation as she waited for someone to answer. The moment the call connected, she launched into an agitated explanation. "Yes, 911, she said sharply. "I need to report a suspicious vehicle." She pointed dramatically toward the sheriff's car, as if presenting evidence of a major crime. Her voice grew louder as she described what she believed was a serious violation. "The vehicle is parked illegally, and the owner is obviously ignoring community regulations," she declared. Karen paced back and forth across the driveway while continuing her complaint. With every step, her outrage seemed to intensify. "I even tried opening it with my HOA master key," she continued, "but it has some kind of strange lock that doesn't work with it." The statement sounded ridiculous, but Karen delivered it with complete confidence. She shot an angry glare toward the sheriff's house, completely unaware that he had witnessed every second of her performance from inside. "I expect officers here immediately," she demanded before ending the call. With the conversation finished, Karen crossed her arms and stood proudly beside the vehicle. She looked completely satisfied with herself, convinced she had taken decisive action. In her mind, justice was now racing toward the neighborhood. Several moments later, the distant sound of sirens echoed through the streets. Karen's face brightened instantly. The sound grew louder and louder until a police cruiser turned the corner with its emergency lights flashing. The arrival added an air of drama to the scene, making Karen feel as though her complaints had been fully validated. The patrol car rolled to a stop nearby. 2 officers stepped out, calm, professional, ready to investigate the reported issue. Karen wasted no time. She hurried over to them and immediately began pointing toward the sheriff's sedan. Words poured out as she launched into an elaborate explanation of the situation. She exaggerated details, emphasized imagined violations, and painted herself as a responsible citizen defending the neighborhood. As they listened, the officers exchanged a brief glance. Something about the story wasn't adding up. Still, they followed procedure and walked toward the vehicle to take a closer look. They examined the car carefully, their curiosity growing. One officer focused on a license plate. As he read it, recognition slowly appeared on his face. His eyes widened slightly. Suddenly, everything made sense. At that exact moment, the front door of the house opened. The sheriff stepped outside. Unlike earlier, he was now dressed in his full uniform. His appearance carried immediate authority and confidence. Karen turned toward the movement. The instant she recognized who was approaching, the color drained from her face. Her jaw dropped. The officers immediately straightened and offered respectful salutes. Their earlier confusion vanished, replaced by complete understanding. A close look at Karen revealed pure shock. The reality of what she had done was finally sinking in. The sheriff walked calmly across the driveway toward his car. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth as he approached. The officers struggled to maintain professional expressions. More than once, they had to suppress amused smiles. The situation had become almost impossible not to find funny. Reaching the vehicle, the sheriff looked directly at Karen and raised an eyebrow. "Is there a problem here, ma'am?" he asked. His voice remained calm and controlled, but the question carried enough weight to cut straight through her confidence. Karen opened her mouth to respond. Nothing came out. The woman, who had spent the last several minutes issuing demands and accusations, suddenly couldn't find a single coherent sentence. Without saying anything further, the sheriff reached into his pocket and removed his key. With one simple click, he unlocked the car door. The sound seemed to echo louder than it should have. It was a final, undeniable proof that everything Karen had claimed was completely wrong. The sheriff opened the door, retrieved a file from inside, and closed it again without the slightest sign of irritation. Then he turned back toward Karen and waited patiently. One of the officers finally decided to explain. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "this vehicle belongs to Sheriff Thompson. The words hit like a hammer. Karen's face immediately turned bright red. Every ounce of confidence disappeared as embarrassment took over. Her carefully planned confrontation had collapsed in spectacular fashion. The sheriff glanced toward the officers. "Everything's fine, gentlemen," he said. "Just a misunderstanding." His tone remained professional, clearly signaling that he wasn't interested in escalating the situation. The officers nodded. Both were still fighting the urge to laugh. Karen attempted to apologize, but her words came out as a tangled mess of nervous stammering. The humiliation was overwhelming. The sheriff gave her a firm look, one that carried both authority and a hint of amusement. The message was clear enough without needing further explanation. Karen quickly turned and hurried back toward her house. Moments earlier, she had been marching around the neighborhood with absolute confidence. Now she retreated in complete embarrassment, eager to disappear behind her front door. As she vanished inside, the sheriff and the officers shared a brief laugh. The cruiser eventually pulled away, leaving the sheriff standing beside his perfectly legal vehicle, while the neighborhood slowly returned to its usual peaceful calm.